everyone. Come on in and welcome to Ready to Love. And we are covering the exit interview with Mark Anthony and Crystal Lexo. Thank you, everybody, for dropping down in my comments. Thank you for telling me to watch this interview. I really appreciate it. And I'm finally getting to it. I am finally getting to it, and I'm glad I watched it. I had already done the recap review of Mercedes' interview, so it was good to be able to hear the other half. I don't know if y'all gonna like what I gotta say though. I don't know if you all gonna like what I have to say. Well, let me go over this part. This part I'll say is for this. I never thought that Mark Anthony was looking to choose Jeffrey, that he would really want to take on 3 kids. He made it pretty clear to everyone that's not what he was looking for. I think the part maybe I confused everyone with over is I was saying that it was not fake, the level of attraction he had to Jeffrey. That was not fake. What I saw in Mark Anthony's eyes, the way I saw him melt into Jeffrey was real. Now, what we learned from Mark Anthony is that he's a very logical person, just like Mercedes is a logical person. And what these two logical people have a way to do is they have a way to override their emotions and go with what makes sense logically. What Mark Anthony did was, even though his emotions, I'm telling you, I still believe it, even though his emotions were drawn into Jeffrey, the logic of him being with a woman with 3 kids and 2 baby daddies was not a goal. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the game that Jeffrey was playing, because we know she's fake Jeffrey, but the game that she was playing, the lure that she was using, the femininity, the soft voice, the gassing Mark Anthony up, telling him sweet things, it worked. It lured him in. I'm telling you, what he has in common with Mercedes is that they are both logical. They probably have some very good conversations because I think they both actually think a lot alike. And I think that commonality in the logic side, they're just both down to earth people saying they're both honest, sometimes brutally honest. They just give it to you straight, no chasers. Love that about both of them. I think that is what binds them and gives them a strong foundation. But the part about Jeffrey is Jeffrey appealed to Mark Anthony's need to protect, need to provide, need to be a hero in his woman's life. And he basically validated that. I am sorry to tell y'all, I know all y'all are hoping for a Mark Anthony, a Mercedes combination, a Love Jones. Like they love Jones. They Lorenz Tate and Nia Long. I know we all out here hoping for it, but I just don't see it. When Mark Anthony described, and let me tell you why I don't see it, because I'm going to use the same logic they use, right? I'm going to override my emotions that says, wow, they look like they would be a good fit, and I'm going to use my logic. When I listen to what he says he says he wants to be the provider of the home. He wants a woman who's going to put family first. He wants a woman that if she wants to work, she can, but he doesn't really want her to because he doesn't want that being taken away from the family and providing for the child. He doesn't want a child that's going to be in daycare. The other part that he said was the providing for the woman isn't just for her. Hear what he said. He isn't saying I want to provide for a woman because I don't want my woman to work. He isn't doing it necessarily for her. What he really honed in was, I like the way that people praise men when they're the provider of the home. He even said that sometimes it's blurred when the woman works, because if the woman works, it's not clear enough that the man is the provider. If you all didn't hear this in the interview, you need to go back because this was probably the most important piece. And this is why I tell you, I'm saying today that Mercedes and he wouldn't make a good pair in terms of going on unless something changes. Because what he's describing is not Mercedes. Mercedes is a career woman. At least she is now. Okay? Does it mean she'll always be? No. But for right now, she is. And what Mark Anthony says is he wants a wife in which he provides for her and the family because he wants the adoration and the admiration of other people who look at him that way. And what he said was, if a woman is working and she's also bringing in money, then it doesn't make him the clear provider. Okay? That's a big difference. So I believe that Mercedes does appeal to the logical side of Mark Anthony. I think they have both had that logic down. But what Jeffrey did appeal to, and I'm not backing off of it, is she appealed to his emotional side. Jeffrey made him feel. Jeffrey Jeffrey laid out a plan that would make him feel. Does that mean he wanted to go off and marry her and take on 3 kids? No, because that's the logic side. He would never do that. But that doesn't take away from that the real woman that Mark Anthony wants is a woman that makes him feel the way Jeffrey did, but doesn't have all the baggage of Jeffrey. And I'm telling you, that's not what Mercedes is offering. Because what also I believe the difference between Mercedes, a reason why they wouldn't get together, is because they're both logical. And sometimes a real logical person does need a person with a bit more emotion to come in and sort of throw caution to the wind and say, let's go for it, right? Is in some ways, I think Mark Anthony is going to be the man that got away from Mercedes. I think that this may be a person where she could have had a good, strong chance of being with. They probably could have had a good foundation for a marriage. But the difference between Mercedes and another woman is if another woman has such a strong connection with Mark Anthony the way Mercedes does on this other level, that woman might be more willing to give up her career and move to where Mark Anthony is. She might be willing to more sacrifice a part of her career in order to fall and follow love. And I think Mark Anthony would have gone for that. Now, does he want a woman that gives up her career just for him? He probably doesn't, because he's a logical person. But that emotional side of which a woman says, I'm so in love, I want to be with you, and I'm willing to make sacrifices to be with you, even if that means putting my career on hold or doing something different. If Mercedes was more of that type of woman, I think they could be together, but she's not. She's a pilot. She's training to be a pilot. She's going to be in pilot school. I don't even know how long pilot school is. Is it a year, 2 years? I have no idea. But she chose herself. It was interesting that at the end of the show, when she gave that speech to Mark Anthony, she says, how would I be with you because you're not an anchor for me? Well, the truth of the matter is Mercedes isn't anchored either. Mercedes is still running around, flying around, doing different things. So I really don't even know how she could say Mark Anthony wouldn't be an anchor to her, because she's not even anchored. She's still moving around. So I don't know if she was talking about she wants to be able to move around and the man follows her wherever she goes. In a lot of ways, she's asking for the same thing that Mark Anthony's asking for, but they're not able to give each other. Mark Anthony would need a woman that loves him, wants to be with him, would talk to him the way Jeffrey talks to him, but also will be able to talk to him and match him intellectually as Mercedes does. But that woman would also be so connected to wanting family, kids, and having a man like Mark Anthony that she would be willing to sacrifice some things for him. And I don't believe Mercedes is that person. Down the road in Mercedes' life, Mark Anthony could be looked back upon, if she doesn't eventually find love on her own, as the one that got away. And she may say to herself, maybe I should have done something a little bit different if I really wanted to nurture that relationship. These are the decisions women make, career women make, that are different from women who want to be homemakers and housemakers. This moment right here, this decision that Mercedes had to make, because it's clear that Mark Anthony really liked her. It's clear that he would have wanted a relationship with her. But right here in this decision, do you follow the man or do you follow your career? And Mercedes chose her career. That is what separates career women from women who want to necessarily maybe be a home maker at the home, because that's what Mark Anthony wants. And he just doesn't want it just so the woman can be taken care of. Mark Anthony has made it very clear. One of the reasons why he wants to be the sole provider or the primary provider is because he wants the public admiration. He wants the praise. It's the very thing that Mercedes told us that Mark Anthony says to her all the time. Why don't you give me compliments? Why don't you gas me up? It's why he loved Jeffrey in that respect, because that's what she did. Jeffrey fed his ego. She fed his ego. So this idea that he's on this TV show talking about, I never would have wanted Jeffrey, I never really wanted to be the father of 3 kids. I understand that. But where I think that Crystal XO let him off the hook a little bit was not pinning him down and saying, but The game that Jeffrey was playing, what she was feeding with you, those emotions we saw that were welled up inside of him, where he wanted to care, he wanted to provide, he wanted to protect Jeffrey. He did. And he wants that with a woman. He wants that with his wife. And Mercedes is independent. Why does she need protection? She's off here being a pilot. She doesn't need to be protected. So yes, does he have a strong bond with her? Absolutely. Do they have cerebral conversations? Absolutely. But the feeling that of wanting to provide and protect for a woman, he had that with Jeffrey. And I'm not backing off of it. I know y'all want this whole Love Jones scenario. I wanted it too. But actually, this interview with Mark Anthony actually solidified it for me even more. After watching this interview and realizing how logical he is, and watching Mercedes and how logical those two are, it'd be hard for them to get together. Because let me tell you something else that's required in love and marriage. Sometimes it means throwing caution to the wind. Sometimes it's not always following your logic. Love is combining the love, the emotion, along with the logic. It is the two. Should you always act on your heart alone? No. Should you always act on logic alone? But these two have so much logic that where is the emotional part that says, let me just throw caution to the wind. Let's just make this happen. And I don't think either one of them really have it. I think they're both so logical. I can't ever see either one of them taking any real risk. They're really, both of them are so calculated. Who's going to take the risk here? Who's going to be the one that says, let's throw caution to the wind. Let's just fall into it. That's why they call it fall in love, because part of it is just letting go. But Mark Anthony and Mercedes are both so logical. They're both so tightly formed, that I wonder if either one of them can throw caution to the wind and just follow the other. I don't think that they can. That's why they're still apart, even though they have this strong bond, because neither one of them is willing to take the risk on the other one and throw caution to the wind. At the end of the show, Mercedes says, I can't really be with you, Mark Anthony, because how would you be an anchor to me? I would be like a boat with no anchor. And as you look at that, you say to yourself, well, that really it made sense at first, maybe when you listen to it. But now when you look at what Mercedes is doing, she's off in pilot school. In actuality, she's more of the boat flailing in the wind. She's still in movement. She's still in flux. She's still in the movement. So I don't know how Mark Anthony could be an anchor to her when she's still moving around. It's almost as if she was saying Mark Anthony was the one moving around and she was the one that was stable. But as we see how they've progressed outside of the show, she's moving around just as much as Mark Anthony is. So in actuality, sure, Mark Anthony wouldn't be an anchor to her, but she isn't even ready to be anchored, right? So one could say, yeah, Mark Anthony couldn't be an anchor to you because he moved from Florida to New York. But the truth of the matter is you're a boat that's not even ready to be anchored. So, I don't know what to say. I mean, I look at the two of them. I think they're both wonderful people. I think Mark Anthony did a great job on the interview. But do I see these two currently in their life being together? Absolutely not. And even when I hear Mark Anthony describing what he wants in a wife and a life, to be honest with you, I'm not for sure Mercedes will be the woman who's willing to give up her career in order to be the woman that Mark Anthony described. And sure, he said, it's okay if she wants to work, but I don't want her to have to work. Mark Anthony wants the public, the praise, the recognition that he is the provider for the house. Does he want a woman that makes more than him? No, because guess what? Then he's not the clear provider. He's not the clear provider. That's very important to him. He said it over and over again in this interview. He doesn't want a woman who out-earns him. He doesn't want a woman like Corvaya either, who's so high maintenance and needs so much that it puts a lot of pressure on him to provide for a person like Corvaya. He doesn't want that either. He wants a woman that can live within what he can provide, whatever that's going to be. Of course, he wants to make as much as he can, but he wants a woman that he can provide for, which means that woman has to be willing to live under sort of that whatever constraint of whatever salary he makes. That's the woman he wants. A woman who's going to put family first. A woman who isn't going to put her career first. A woman who's not going to put her kids in daycare. A woman that's going to, like he said, take care of him, take care of the kids, do a lot of the traditional roles. I don't see that with Mercedes. And nothing is wrong with it, but when I hear what Mark Anthony describes, I don't hear him describing Mercedes, at least not now. So unless Mercedes is telling me she's going to pilot school just to go and just for fun, and after she graduates, she's willing to play the role that Mark Anthony is talking about, then they won't be a good fit. And like he said, he's stubborn. He's not going to change what he wants. So this idea that Mercedes was his number one and Jeffrey was never a real contender, I'm not buying that 100%. Now, because what I'm telling you is they both really weren't real contenders for Mark Anthony. Let me really say it. Jeffrey wasn't a real contender for Mark Anthony because of the 3 kids and the baby daddies. She wasn't a real contender, but he loved the way she made him feel. Mercedes, in all honesty, isn't a contender either, because although they connect cerebral, logically, the way they, all that kind of stuff, maybe even have some emotional connection, the logic of Mercedes' life doesn't fit with the picture that Anthony was painting. Mark Anthony was painting. It doesn't. The logic of Mercedes' life does not fit with the picture that Mark Anthony says that he wants for his wife and for his life. So therefore, just like he knew that Jeffrey was not a real contender for marriage, Mercedes wasn't a real contender for any type of marriage either. So the best they got to, which is where they are, is that he would love to stay connected to Mercedes because they vibe, they have good chemistry, they get along, but their lives just don't match. This has the making of 2 people that later on down the line, 5 years down the line, if they don't find anyone, or one of them does find someone and marries, someone will say, wow, she was the one that got away, or she will say he's the one that got away. Because what neither one of them were willing to do was throw caution to the wind and say, let's do something bold to be together. Let's not follow logic completely. Let's let emotion come in, because we know logically we could make it. Let emotion come in and steer us in a different way. And either of them not able to do it. I wanted the Love Jones love story too. I really did. But I don't think we're going to get it, because I don't think that Mark Anthony's going to change what he wants in a wife and in what he wants in his life. And I think Mercedes is a career woman, and she really does want to be a pilot. And I don't think she wants to go get a pilot's license just to have it. I think she wants a pilot's license so that she can be a pilot, which means she'll probably never be home, because pilots are always on the road. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Thanks for telling me to watch the video. I appreciate it. I'll talk to y'all later for the next video. I don't know what's up, but I'm going to come up with something. Talk to you later. Bye.